This is Prep Period, an all-sports podcast by the Ventura County Star and the people at VCS Press.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Prep Period, the Ventura County Star's All Preps, All Sports podcast. My name is Dominic Massimino. He is Joe Curley. We are in the double digits, Joe. We've reached episode 10. Who thought we'd make it here? Who thought?
How long do we have to go until we stop counting?
Oh, that's a great question. It's gonna be a few years 21, from now. You're gonna have a big gray beard. I'm not going to have a mustache anymore. Who knows what I'm going to have at that point.
You're going to have the curly cues at the end of your mustache.
There we go.
All I have to do is not shave for a couple days, and I have a big gray beard, so it could be at any moment.
So got another action-packed episode today. No guests. It's just the two of us talking prep sports today. It's back like how it began all those weeks ago. Just the two of us.
That's right. It's when the playoffs start, man. There's a lot to get to.
This is true. And we got playoffs beginning for a lot of our sports this week, which we will talk about later in this episode. But you guys know how it starts. You know how every episode starts. We talk about last week's football games, everything that went down on the sidelines, Friday nights, where Joe and I, it kind of anchors our week, those Friday nights. We know where we're going and kind of sets the schedule for the week. So you had another exciting game this week. A lot happened in that game. It was super entertaining to read about at the VC Star website, which you should go check out right now. First plug of the episode, like 2 minutes in. But why don't you just walk us through that game, the craziness of what happened, two teams in very different places, and Westlake comes out victorious and is still undefeated. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Westlake 29, Newbury Park 23 in double overtime. There was maybe 3 different times where it looked like Newbury Park had the game won. Vincent Carner had a long touchdown to first of all, they're up 16-9 early fourth quarter, and they'd done a really good job on Dominic Bell, and Dominic Bell breaks off a 74-yard touchdown run to tie the game, and then Carner comes back and gives Newbury its second 7-point lead of the fourth quarter. Game looked over, and then Niles Davis made the first of 2 game-turning plays, really game-deciding plays, to tie the game, 23-23. Really good numbers for the freshman quarterback for Westlake, Ford Green, but very interesting moment at the end of that game where Rick Clausen, with Westlake having the ball in the last minute, decides to run the ball into the line and not put the game in the hand of his freshman quarterback, which, shows you, he liked his options in overtime more so than, going 7. They were on their side of the field, so it was understandable. But still, I talked to him after the game about that decision. And, I thought Ford Green played well at times, but also, there was some real pressure. Coach Clausen said it was the first time that they had been kind of hit in the mouth. And so you got to really love the way, from a Westlake perspective, they responded to that. They go into overtime. Both teams miss field goals in the first overtime. A little bit of controversy with the Newbury Park missed field goal, where it appears the kicker may have been run into, or it may have been late, depending on which side of the field you're sitting on. It's either a flag or a flop. So you can make the call on that one. And then Niles Davis again winning the game, second play of second overtime. So long story short, Westlake now in pole position in the Conejo Coast League, and they are 2 wins away from going 0-10 to 10-0. Which
we got to do our research.
Which they said in the spaces probably has never happened before, but we have to confirm it. So
that's the
Terry
job.
And I will be hard at work, deep into the archives on that one.
Yeah, very cool. And speaking of spaces, we talked with Coach Clausen after the game. He had lots of great things to say. I think you can, I believe that was recorded, and you can go back and listen to some of what those coaches talked about after last week's games, including Coach Clausen. It sounds like just, pretty ugly game, but like you got to have a couple ugly games as a perfect team, going from 0-10 to 8-0 now. Like you're going to have some some bumps in the road, but it makes it all that much more impressive that they are still unbeaten.
I think it's a trend this year where our biggest games have been just two teams beating on each other and making the game pretty ugly.
For sure. And then I was over in you had the key Conejo Coast League game. I had the key Tri-County League game. Fillmore going to visit Agora. And yeah, this was something, it was billed. We have in multiple of these leagues, we had kind of two teams that we felt a cut above the rest. And, they had proved that through the first few weeks of league. And this was going to be a matchup that was likely to determine, who was going to win the Tri-County League title this year. And Agora comes out and plays like, they knew that was the case, and they had to win this one. They score on the very first offensive play, a 70-something yard passing touchdown from just on a straight, post go route from Gavin Gray to Tyler Starling up the right sideline. It's you feel like that's kind of what you're expecting as Fillmore going into a game against, a team that has a stellar quarterback, phenomenal skill players and loves to pass the ball, but it still felt like it caught him off guard that first play. And Tyler Starling takes it to the house. They go up 7-0 and they basically rolled from there. Just fireworks from Gavin Gray and from Tyler Starling all night. Gray ends up passing for 304 yards and 5 touchdowns on 10 for 11 passing. His one incompletion in this game is an interception on a rare ill-advised pass, kind of late in the play, breaks down. He's moving around in the pocket and he lobs one up that Miso Osageda from Fillmore pulls down. But yeah, just another excellent night from Gray and from Starling. He catches 4 balls, 3 of them go for touchdowns, and he finishes with 180 yards receiving. So just dominant. You texted me before this game calling him he's a Ferrari of an athlete, and it's true. Yeah, it was absolutely true.
It's one thing to see it on film. It's another thing to have to run with it, and so that's kind of Tyler Starling's speed right there.
Absolutely. And then also have to shout out, especially since we are going to be talking about our top 100 rankings today, have to give a shout out to defensive end Will Gelt, who, spoiler alert, he made it into those rankings. One of quite a few Agora kids who made it into our rankings this year. And he had 2 sacks on Fillmore's first 2 drives, which, knowing the way that Fillmore plays, they're a run heavy offense. They're handing the ball off to Josiah Patterson and Micah Harm, 8 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10. And 2 of the first 3 times that quarterback Nate Perez drops back to pass, Will Gelt gets back there and sacks him. So credit to the Aurora defense in particular for being able to read kind of when those opportunities to pass were coming for Fillmore and just completely bottling it up. A tough night for the Fillmore offense, but talking to Coach Weiss after the game, he's like, best thing that can happen to a team that's undefeated and wants to do big things in the playoffs sometimes is to lose to a team that was better on the night. So will be fun to see where they go from here. And Agora moves into pole position, gets ready to clinch a share of the league title next week if they can get the win.
And then in the Conejo Coast, in the Citrus Coast League, you had Grace and Nordhoff coast to coast. We had 3 big first place showdowns. This was at Moore Park College. Riley Williams, 22 of 29 for 332, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing TD for Grace. Michael Denny, 219 and 3 touchdown passing, plus 122 yards rushing. Obviously quarterbacks kind of carrying the day there. Grace recovers from, he said it was 4. They fumbled the ball 4 times in the first quarter and somehow won that game. Landon Cooper, 351 all-purpose yards and 3 receiving touchdowns for Grace. I guess that's how you do it. And
There's the answer right there.
yeah, and so they had that Grace scored a touchdown to tie the game at the half, right at the end of the second quarter, and then pulled away in the second half. Um, really good matchup there between, like what I said on Friday, the smallest public school team in the county versus the smallest public private school team in the county, either Grace or Santa Clara. Not sure which one's smaller. So, all in all, kind of it's that pecking order has been determined in that league probably, and now it's really interesting to see kind of who's going to be the third playoff team in that league. But kudos for Grace 1 year after losing a player we thought was a generational talent in Ethan LaSecla. They're keeping it going somehow. I mean, I honestly I remember talking to Coach Coate last year and being like, how do you continue? The class that saved this program is now graduating. How do you guys continue? And it shows you how well, how good a job the class of 25 did, that they're still playing football and playing it well at Grace.
Absolutely. And then moving on to the big Marmani League clash this week, St. Bonaventure takes down Oaks Christian, shuts them out 19-0. And it feels like St. Bonaventure is building momentum. I mean, you were there at that game against Pacifica. Your characterization of it was, they won that game up until the point where they hadn't, and that's the way Mike Moon put it. They played a great game last week. They come back and they continue, that momentum against another top team in this league, we think talent wise, in Oaks Christian, and shut them out. What'd you hear from Coach Hill and about that effort and what they did?
Just more of the same, in that just their defense has been super dominating. I mean, it's the very first time that Oaks Christian has ever been shut out by anyone besides Sierra Canyon. So, and it also shows you where Oaks is right now as an offense with, another second straight or third straight game without Rideau at running back, obviously a freshman at quarterback. So, not the personnel that we kind of thought the Lions would have throughout this year, but they did, drive the ball, and they got, I think they threw there's two interceptions by St. Bonaventure. One was a pick six that got St. Bonaventure going.
Jason
and the other,
Holman, right? I think.
yeah, Jason Holman, the linebacker. And then I think it was Tony Dargan had an interception in the end zone. On, a big moment where Oaks is going to score to get back in the game. So, probably the two best or two of the top three defensive fronts, locally, just once again, blowing up the opposition's offense. Bonaventure gets a late offensive touchdown. It's the only offensive touchdown in the game on a run by Jace Franco. So,
wow.
But that's a monumental win for St. Bonaventure, who now has to play Bishop, and they could take all the steam out of a potential Week 10 Marmani League showdown between Pacifica and Bishop Diego if they can win that game this weekend and kind of make themselves the second place team in that league and kind of solidify position. You'd be solidifying Pacifica's place. And honestly, just the fact that just the schedule itself, Pacifica is going to have to play a Bishop Diego team on Week 10 that's coming off having to play that St. Bonaventure defense. So, what kind of state is that offensive line going to be in, after that battle? So, I mean, but that's the grind of the Marmani League. I mean, just look at what's happening to Simi. We're not talking about Simi in the segment, but Simi is just battered and bruised. If that's a healthy team, that's one of the best teams around, and they are they're down to their fifth running back, and the state of that schedule, which is the number one. I put it in the rankings this week. Oaks Christian's played the best schedule locally, but they're not in Ventura County. Simi Valley's played the number one schedule of Ventura County school, and it's kind of where they're at with a 3-win season so far.
Yeah, you see the effects of that on health. And then lastly, last big game around was Oak Park taking down Buena 48-7, which, this actually, it goes from being a team that we were thinking, might be in the bottom half of this league to, or I should say, I think you and I had different thoughts on what Oak Park was going to do this year. You've been a believer. But yeah, Oak Park, remains in this Channel League title race if they can take down Ventura next week, which is, it's a tough opponent and a big ask, but they remain in it with this decisive win. Grayson Ozat, we've mentioned him so many times on this podcast, and in our page, the pages of our paper, he completes 8 of 8 passes for 270 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then he runs for 2 more scores to lead the Eagles past Buena. So another big win for Oak Park. It sounded like it was talking to Coach Webb, it was the most complete game that they have played, which is something that they've struggled with this season. They kind of barely make it out of that game against Oxnard, who'd gotten their quarterback back and looked a little shaky, and then come out and just blow out Buena to hopefully kind of move them into that that at least spot to confirm playoffs for them, hopefully. So an important win for Oak Park, and that's our what is that, our 5th game that we've talked about from this week. So lots of important stuff happening.
Channel League is kind of playing out almost exactly how it played out last year, where you had Moore Park beat Oak Park in the first game, and then Moore Park loses to Ventura in what we thought was what we hyped up as the title showdown game. And then the next week, Ventura still got to beat Oak Park. And I'm looking at it, it was 17-7 last year. I thought that Ventura blew them out. No, Ventura only won that game 17-7. They got a Tristan Phillips touchdown run, touchdown catch, a Gage Kushner touchdown run, and that was enough. So they kind of won it defensively. Can Oak Park shock people and create a tie atop that league? We will see, but they are playing really good football. Led by the quarterback, and also we'll get to it in a couple of weeks, but they're in a really good spot playoff wise. If they can get into November healthy, you're talking about a team that's going to be in D9, 10, 11 with a Grayson Ozat at quarterback. Yeah, I mean, you got to like where the Eagles are headed. They won a big playoff game last year, and I think D7. Now they'd be a couple divisions down, and don't forget about that.
Absolutely, 100%. And speaking of St. Bonaventure, the Deuces stat of the week. I think we missed a Deuces stat of the week last week, so this is for the last 2 weeks. We'll give this one. This season marks the 15th anniversary of St. Bonaventure's county record 15th consecutive league title. So, and here we see St. Bonaventure, new coach, new era, and picking up some steam this season. So,
I would say that was the middle of the 90s to about 2010, somewhere in there. And it goes that run went across multiple leagues: Tri-Valley, Channel League, and Armani League.
Wow.
Yep, that's before your time.
Indeed. Most things in Ventura County history are before my time, that's given right. The fact that, I'm a year and a month into this job, but enjoying it.
And don't forget to vote in the Week 8 poll, which is up and doing quite well right now. I won't list like I have in previous, but we, basically everyone we've mentioned so far is up for Player of the Week for Week 8. And Week 8. And make sure you go vcstar.com, Ventura County Star app. I got my rankings up. We've got we're just about to talk midseason top 100 football rankings. You can get that whole list at vcstar.com if you subscribe. And you can also read my coverage today of a very interesting development in one of the biggest games in any sport. Any year, which is Fillmore Santa Paula football. They will play. If you've ever sat there and said, man, I want to know what this Fillmore Santa Paula rivalry is about, and I can never go because it's always sold out and I have to pay $150 online for a scalped high school ticket, which was actually happening, which is why they're doing this. They've moved the game. Not this year. It will not be at Santa Paula. It will not be at Fillmore. It's actually going to be at Larrabee Stadium at Ventura High. Because the last couple times it's been at Santa Paula, they've sold out in hours, and other people on the 126 want to go to this game and they can't get a ticket and they can't get in, even though they do everything they can to open up space in the stands at Jones Field. They put the band on the track. They,
I love that stadium, by
make
the way. Very, very cool.
it is. It is one of the best stadiums around. So it does. I mean, I thought Coach Mike Montoya from Santa Paula kind of put it great. You'll see it in the story. He mentions how there's mixed emotions. Obviously, in your biggest game of the year, you don't want to give up your home field advantage. You want to have those memories at home. You don't have to get on a bus and go to Ventura, but the whole community wants to be part of this. And I think it's something we'll talk about. The game is not this week, it's next week. And it's on Thursday because Friday is Halloween. So next week, half the schedule is on Friday, half the schedule is on Thursday, which will mean twice as much work for me and you, buddy. But we're looking forward to it.
We love it. Is it really work? Is it really work when it's the Fillmore Santa Paula rivalry?
Now you sound like my wife. But so check out that story. That's up at vcstar.com. There's a lot of the hows and whys and what the deal is with that. But bottom line is the last couple of years going into a Santa Paula Fillmore game, people are trying to buy my credential off me because you just can't get in the stadium. I remember, I'll never forget the game, the COVID game when nobody was in the stands and you had everybody hanging on the fence along the field to watch the game, even though they couldn't have fans, and they kept trying to clear people. It's COVID. You're not supposed to, 5 feet apart. People are trying to watch the game from the street. So, this is you covered it last year. I've covered it many times. The great Bob Butita covered it year after year after year when I was a kid. It is one of the most special events around. To me, it's every bit as exciting as covering a Super Bowl. And, it means something in that community. And there's nothing like, rivalries are the heartbeat of high school football, and the Santa Paula Fillmore rivalry, which is coming up. It's over 100 years now. This is the 115th game. It's the lifeblood of Ventura County football. And if you haven't been to it, this is your chance. Go out and get a ticket on the 30th. Check out Larrabee Stadium. Each school is going to have 2,500 tickets, which is it's more than doubled. Usually they only get about 1,000. So anyway, check it out, bring your friends, and should be fun. And that's the teams, awesome. Best Fillmore team since '89, maybe. And Santa Paula, before they lost a quarterback, was 4-1. So if they get the quarterback back, it could be a heck of a game.
Yeah, and honestly, regardless of injuries to anybody, whoever shows up on the field is going to be playing like their life depends on it. That's part of the beauty of this game is like all bets are off. You can have a favorite and you can have a team that's coming in the underdog, but who knows what happens when these two teams take the field. And one question for you about this that I'm curious about, I haven't gotten to in the story yet, is this a plan for the foreseeable future? Is this, the next couple of years? Is this something that, do we know anything about the kind of future plans? Or
so I mentioned that, and the short answer to that is, let's see how this first time goes.
Mm-hmm.
If it's sold out and they get 5, that's the thing. It's like, this is a bellwether for,
sure.
How many people actually want to go to this game? Is it 2,500? Is it 3,000? If there's 5,000 tickets, are they going to sell that out on a Thursday before Halloween? If they sell out that game 15 minutes from where they live, if all of Santa Paula and Fillmore drive 15, 20, 25 minutes west and sell out Larrabee Stadium, I mean, I think it's a good argument to do that every year. If they get 2,500 people and it loses money,
mm-hmm.
And then you're saying, okay, people want to go, but, it loses that special nature of everybody being in its seat watching the JV game at 3:00. By the way, the JV game is going to be there at 5:00. So it is a doubleheader. So they're going to, and Fillmore has made no indication that they are interested in doing this next year. So we may be in a situation where we're in Fillmore next year, and Fillmore's even smaller than Jones Field. So,
yeah,
you're talking about, even you might have a situation where Santa Paula is playing their home game in Ventura, and trying to get that money and get everybody in that stadium and everybody experience it. But Fillmore keeps their small town vibe going, and I don't know. So we'll see. Tune
Fascinating.
in, I guess, is the answer. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
And we should interrupt and say, yeah, this part of the podcast is just a traffic advisory as much as it is a football segment. If you work anywhere along the 126 and you're coming home on Thursday night, find another way because it's gonna be
careful.
packed. It's gonna be packed on the highway there. So let's jump into second period. This has been a segment that we've wanted to do for quite a few weeks, but Joe and I have been just working so hard on it. It's a testament to how much work we put into these rankings and trying to get them right down to the very one spot for each of these guys, that it's taken us so long to get these midseason top 100 football rankings out, but they are out and live on our
We do
website.
not take any spot for granted. All 100 have been vetted. We have a list of other people we wanted to get on.
We have a lot of lists.
Yeah,
we have too many lists.
We do have a lot of lists. The thing is, I'm looking at it now, and it was almost too big. Did he fit the whole thing in the paper? Our editor was like,
if he did, he's
guys.
a genius.
Yeah, well, he is a genius. But, I don't know if it made the paper. I was saying just put 50 in the paper and then, put an arrow to the website. Here's the second 50. So, but yeah, it was a labor of love, and I figure if we do this stuff, we should do this right, and it's not worth just throwing a bunch of names out there and being wrong. So
True.
This is our real opinion, our real expertise with all the work that we put in.
So there's a few ways to kind of look at this. Obviously, there's 100 names on this list, plus a watch list of, I think, something like 30, 40 at the end. So we're not going to go through everybody, but we thought we'd kind of just take a peek at kind of some of the biggest risers from our preseason top 70 to this midseason list. Some of the guys who are not ranked at all in that first list who have jumped up high. So the first thing that kind of jumped out to me, Joe, when I was kind of looking through these rankings as a reader rather than as a contributor, were how much improvement there has been from some of our top quarterbacks in terms of their ranking, in terms of their play on the field. Those two things are related, obviously. The biggest riser among those top few quarterbacks, of course, is Taylor Lee, who jumps up from number 41 in our preseason top 70 to number 12. He's one of our top risers, not just among quarterbacks, but among players in general, and for good reason. I mean, he started this season. We were talking about him. We had him on this podcast as one of the most prolific passers without an interception in not just California, but the country. Yeah, and who had been leading, Pacifica, continues to be undefeated. Thanks to him, he's emerged from an early league gauntlet of playing some of these stellar defenses, and he's led this team, and they continue to be undefeated through that gauntlet. So he's one of those top risers there. And then two other quarterbacks who are already highly ranked in our top 20 who have only moved up are Agora quarterback Gavin Gray, who we talked about earlier in this podcast, who's been just stellar, moves up from 20th to number 8. And Jackson Taylor, just one spot above him at 7, jumps up from number 12 to number 7. So yeah, a lot of talent up there that's continuing to improve.
Yeah, part of what we were thinking was that you've got 5 of the most productive quarterbacks in the whole southern section all in this one little swath of land. So, and you didn't mention Brady Smigel, who's number 1, who, despite the season-ending injury, only thought it was fair to keep him at number 1 because he's, no matter, by far, one of the best football players in Ventura County, leaving with every passing record, going to Michigan. So kept him there, even though he's not going to be playing going forward. And then, Gavin Gray went up from 20 to 8 because he got his 3-star ranking. I'm sure pretty soon he's going to be swimming in scholarship offers. I honestly think he's a Division I big time, Power 5 level quarterback.
Yeah.
Jackson Taylor already has that. He honestly had an incredible first half of the season, going nearly 5 games without a pick, till Simi got him. and obviously Taylor Lee playing as well as anybody. So, I think it's a strong quarterback class. It's the reason why we have so many quarterbacks in here. It's the most important position, and it's a pretty much. I mean, we talked about last year how almost everybody had a good quarterback,
Yeah.
and I think we're back to the spot where there's so many good quarterbacks. It is the strength of the area skill wise that, you know, almost every. I'd have to go through and figure it out. Almost everybody's got a good quarterback, and then 5 to 7 teams have great quarterbacks.
Yeah. I just, the recency bias for me, having just seen Gavin Gray play live for the first time in my time at the Star, he's just so polished. I mean, he's just like every decision he makes, there, like I said, there was one miscue in that game, one bad mistake, but in a sea of positive, plays that he made happen at the helm of an offense that's like, gives him the keys and says, hey, like go make good things happen for us. Like, he's just extremely efficient, extremely polished, goes where he wants to go, knows what he wants to do. Yeah. So he impressed me a lot. And then the biggest leap that we had from somebody who was ranked in the top 70 or in our preseason top 70 to these top 100 rankings is Thousand Oaks Luke Sullivan, who jumps 37 spots from 64 to 27. I loved you wrote the bio for him, and I think the first line of the bio was underrated no more, which I think very aptly summarizes kind of what he's done in the past few months to kind of cement himself up in that top 30. What have you made of him?
I mean, I think he's just a tremendous high school football player. You've got these great teams that have, kids are going to play in college, kids are going to play in high school, in the NFL. And you need to have players that do everything, that fill the gaps. And I'm not saying Luke Sullivan is good enough to play in college, but high school, he just does everything for them. He plays linebacker, he plays receiver, he returns kicks, he makes big plays. He's just kind of the heartbeat of that team. And I'm holding back. I was going to compare him to one of the great high school players we ever covered, and I don't think it's fair to him, and I'm gonna hold it. But
the fact that you see it yourself is a a sign.
He's just a heck of a football player, and he does a lot for that team. That does they only got 40 some odd players, and there's only one Luke Sullivan. And every single team that's winning football games needs a Luke Sullivan, a kid who makes plays in all three phases.
Yeah, you said you need. I think the word you're looking for is you need dogs, and Luke Sullivan is a dog. He's a dog. I mean, I remember my Luke Sullivan memory from covering him last year was just how huge he was in the end of that crazy game against Rio Mesa. When
that was the breakout game.
Yeah, you have like, this is a roster that has Hayden Vircher, who's like, yeah, that guy's gonna go places and do things as a receiver, and you have a phenomenal quarterback, and you have all these weapons. And at the end of that game, the only player I could think about was Luke Sullivan and what he did. Just a spark, an energy, playmaker on both sides. Like it makes a lot of sense that he is where he is ranked. He's one of the players I feel like most confident about that we got right in the right spot. And then, kind of the highest leverage, you could say, change the biggest kind of movement at the highest rank in these rankings was Westlake's Damani Bell, who jumps 7 spots from number 11 to number 4. So the kind of highest movement at the highest level kind of is what this bid is with Damani. And I remember a few episodes ago, I apologize to Damani Bell for being unfamiliar with his game. I am very familiar with his game now. Just what an electric player. Yeah, I mean, just when Westlake has needed him most, he's been there. When they have needed him least, he's been there. He's just, he's been a consistent star for that team, which is such a great thing to have.
They're 8-0. They're 8-0 with a freshman quarterback, and let's be honest, not the best offensive line around. And he is just, the combination of physicality and electricity is off the charts. And so the guy was scaring Damani Bell was scaring the opposition when Westlake was an 0-10 team.
Yeah.
What do you think he's doing to opposition when they're an undefeated team?
Well put.
And this, and then, we mentioned it earlier in the thing, like Newbury Park did a phenomenal job. It shows you how much that defense has come along, that they were able to hold him down except for one play. He had 134 yards, I think, and 74 of them came on one play, which was arguably the biggest play of the game because Newbury was about to win that game, put it away, and Damani Bell ran through a tackle and went. And I mean, you got to make the first tackle on him because if he breaks the tackle, he's gone. And so anyway, we've said enough, but the kid's phenomenal, and it says a lot. You look at where he is in the rankings and he's around. I mean, yeah. You can fill in the lines there.
Absolutely. And then, just a few other guys. Simi Valley defensive back and running back Sal Villa moves up 19 spots from 55 to 36. Buena running back Jackson Roberts, who's leading the area in touchdowns as of last week, moves up 18 spots from 46 to 28. Another Simi player, Quentin McGann, jumps up 13 spots from 35 to 22. Calabasas Kane Miller up 10 from 27 to 17, and then Ryan Schlunt Bodine. So that's kind of a theme that it didn't pop out until I'm reading them. Some of our biggest risers are those Simi guys.
I think that we probably had those rankings right after they had. I mean, the thing about Simi is they're right up there talent wise with Pacifica.
Yep.
With St. Bonaventure, but they just haven't been healthy. I mean, just look at Villa. Like when Villa's on the field, they're a different team, and he's had a shoulder issue that sometimes he plays with, sometimes he can't. So I mean, it's big for him going forward that he gets that fixed. Q has really stepped his game up. He's been electric in the passing game, electric, and I think he's returned 2 kickoffs for touchdowns. The one I wanted to mention here was Kane Miller. Kane Miller, Kane Miller literally reminds me of Lorenzo Booker, who's one of the most electrifying players we've ever covered. And I went up to Lorenzo, who's now an assistant coach at Newbury Park, before the Westlake game, and I almost kind of started to apologize for saying that a couple times. And he was like, no, because they had played Calabasas the previous year, and
he's like, I see it.
He was okay with it. And so, Kane Miller is absolutely unbelievable. I know some people who watch Calabasas games regularly, and I can tell you that there are people in Calabasas who go to Coyotes games just to watch Zero play. And it's like back in the day when you would go to St. Bonaventure games just to watch run with the ball, because they don't come along often. And when they come along, you got to enjoy it. And so, that's what we're doing at the top of this rankings. That's what we're doing. We're talking about guys who, you're going to remember when they're gone.
Absolutely. And then, another interesting way of looking at these top 100 is seeing those guys who were unknowns to us at the very least going into the season, who have just leaped up into, pretty high up in these rankings, led by none other than Moore Park's Cade Hunter, defensive end. He's our top unranked kid from that top 70 in the preseason. Jumps up
spearfishing quarterbacks.
Yeah. Hey, don't let people know. We might have to do a story on the professional spearfisher.
He's already broken. And I wanted to double check this, but I'll believe Christian. He's already broken the school record for TFLs, and it's like week 8. So it's all you need to know about the year Cade Hunter's had rushing quarterbacks for Westlake.
For Moore Park, but.
Moore Park. What did I say? Westlake.
You got Westlake on the mind. 8-0, man. Hard not to. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of leads the charge for. There's a bunch of defensive ends who ended up getting into these rankings because they've just been so productive. I mean, like obviously sacks and TFLs are kind of they're stats that jump off the page to you, but seeing them in person, it's not just numbers. I mean, you see the impact that these guys have on the game.
I mean, we're talking about how good these quarterbacks are. You absolutely have to have players that disrupt these quarterbacks, or you're done. I mean, that's the game now.
Carve you up.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so here's a guy who you have seen who I haven't, except for on film. But what you do see on film is just ridiculous from Tony Dargan, who's one spot behind Cade Hunter at number 30. for St. Bonaventure. He's just a do-it-all kid. Seems to. I think our stat that we had in the blurb was he's responsible for something like half of St. Bonaventure's touchdowns this year. Just tell us a quick bit about him.
All you need to know about Tony Dargan at 30 is the kid is a freshman, and Troy Hill is mad at me for him being 30. He says, he's telling me who's better than Tony. And, it's hard he has made about as big an impact as anybody. And I said, Troy, you gone from unranked to 30. You want me to put a freshman in the top 10? So, let's slow play. We like to slow. Poor Brady Smigel waited years to get to number 1. So let's just wait. And see more from a spectacular player who's done it. And talking about players who've done it all 3 phases, he's their biggest offensive, big play weapon. He's one of the better corners around. He's already maybe one of the best special teams players around. He's returned a kickoff for a touchdown and a punt for a touchdown. And I mean, if you're a St. Bonaventure fan, the ache in your heart of you could have had both Tony Dargan and is Darian Johnson together, and I don't want to say they're carbon copies, very similar players, and they are 2 of the best young players around. I don't know where we had Darian. I know he was previously in the poll because
I think he's in the
rankings.
50s or 60s.
Yeah, I mean that he was put there without him playing.
Yeah.
And now that he's played, I mean, the next rankings, he's going to be right up there with Tony Dargan in the top 25.
Yeah, just a stellar player. And then Matthew Curry is at number 40. He's a transfer from Sierra Canyon, one of those weapons that had been, one of those guys who came in. I don't want to put it on them because this is not reporting, but you have to assume, you're excited to play at Newbury Park because Brady Schmeigel's there, and he's got 55 catches for 658 yards and 7 touchdowns in just 6 games for the Panthers. Been a great weapon. And then Jason oh, sorry, go ahead.
It just made some phenomenal plays. Part of the reason why Newbury wasn't able to get over the hump against Westlake is he was out with an injury so he didn't play last week.
Right. And then right behind him at 41 is Jason Homan, the linebacker for St. Bonaventure, who had the pick 6 in this last game, was leading the area in tackles, in total tackles at the time of this, when these rankings came out. I'm not sure if he still is through the next week, but
yeah, it's like him and Phelps going back and forth. Basically.
Back and forth. Yeah, exactly. And then 5 is Ford Green, the freshman quarterback at Westlake, who has, helped alongside those talented guys like Damani Bell, has helped kind of engineer this awesome Westlake return. Number 6 is Hanara Villela at Fillmore. He's number 45 in these rankings, and this is obviously a nod to his leadership on that offensive line that has helped Fillmore be going into this last week was the top rushing offense in the area. Yeah. So sure. Those guys have been doing a great job in the trenches, and hearing from Coach Weiss, he's kind of like the leader of that group at obviously a very important position. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to the rest of that offensive line too. Number 7 is Luc Boussier at number 47 in these rankings. We keep talking about doing it all in 3 phases. When you're a kicker who has, converted 25 of 25 PATs, 5 of 7 field goal attempts, including a 47-yarder, and you're one of the top, receiving options for Gavin Gray in that Agora offense, and you have 5 interceptions going into last week. I mean, what more do you want in terms of production from this kid?
In week 0 against Oak Park in the Rivalry game, there was a period in the third quarter where he kicked a field goal, picked off an Oak Park pass, and then made like a 55-yard weaving, pass play run through the secondary. So Luc Boussier, phenomenal high school football player.
Yeah, also way taller than I thought he was. He's 6. Yeah, like you see him on the sideline, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, he's got a shot to be a legit. He could kick in the next level for sure.
For sure. And then DeVille Warner is our 8th previously unranked player. He's at number 48. Super productive linebacker for Pacifica. Late to the football game.
Tell the story. Tell the story 2 weeks ago. What did we say when we were about? We were like, "Who is DeVille Warner?
Who's this guy?" Well, this is a return of the "we weren't familiar with your games." This is a segment. Hey, DeVille Warner, we were not familiar with your game.
So DeVille Warner was somebody who I think just started playing football last year and like literally came up from the JV or something and played a little bit last year. And then this year he's been I mean, that linebacking core is one of the best, positional groups in the county. And it's, you look at it and it's like Phelps and Sione and Pee Wee, and it's like, and who? And it's like, no, DeVille Warner. DeVille
And
Warner
him.
made a play in
I knew you were going to mention
the
this.
St. Bonaventure game that was one of the best plays of the year. I gotta rip it out and put it on. Actually, how did it not? I gotta get it because I left it out of plays of the week for some reason.
You got to rip it out the same way he ripped out the ball. Am I right?
I gotta. Have you seen it? I
haven't seen it.
I want to show.
I feel like
post it.
I feel like I have seen it from how many times you've described. Joe has been unable to talk about anything except for this play from the game, which I know means that it's that impressive.
Running back's going in to give him a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter, and he reaches in and rips the ball out and recovers it. And it's just really the type of stuff that's like a fan at home is like when you're watching like your NFL or college teams, like, why can't he just do that? And it's like, you can't do that because no one does that.
Just take the ball from him. Just take it away.
Rip the ball out of one of the strongest running backs' arms around, and then also in one fell swoop, like also fall on it for a turnover in the red zone. Like, just a phenomenal. It's one of the plays of the year. I'm an idiot for not thinking to put it in plays of the week. I'm gonna have to like redo the plays of the week from last week just so it's in there.
All good. We forgive you. Number 9, which is number 49 in these rankings, is Moorpark's Davis Benson. Super, super explosive player. He's somebody that I was familiar with coming out of last track season.
Track guy.
Because as a sophomore, he high jumped 6 feet 10 inches, which was
just that.
It absolutely blew my mind as a former track guy myself. I was expecting when I go out to this Moorpark track practice that I'm gonna see a 6'7" kid. Like I'm like I won't have any problems not knowing what he looks like because I'll see him immediately. And I end up standing next to Davis Benson, just like shooting the shit for excuse my French for
who's this Davis guy? Where's this Davis guy?
I was like, I'm here to talk to this high jumper, and then his coach is like, oh, you met Davis already. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's like an inch shorter than I am, and he's just he's explosive, he's bouncy, he's agile, he's extremely fast. He's run back kicks for scores from 80 yards and 77 yards out. As a special teams guy, which is what we kind of thought he might be, in the beginning of the year. But he also accounts for 6 of his team's 9 receiving touchdowns. So he's been like he's grown into that that role in the passing game as their number 1 receiver, which is pretty cool. It's been cool to see him kind of flourish this season.
Yeah, no, he's lived up to that talent. He's killing it.
And then, our last guy to mention is at number 53, Jordan Johnson, who has turned around the run game for Thousand Oaks. We were thinking going into the year, Justin Lewis goes to Mater Dei. That's going to be a big hole. How are they going to adjust to that? And he has, come in and fit seamlessly there. A different kind of back, kind of more of a speedier back who, gets into the open field and then does a lot of damage than kind of what Lewis was. But he's given them great production and has clearly worked well, fit in well. So pretty cool.
Does Jordan Johnson run track? He seems like the type of kid
he
that
must,
would run track.
right? I think that name. So I do those leaderboards every week that Derry bequeathed to me in the track season, and I think his name popped a few times for Tio. But
I think so.
Go check out the rest of these. Go check out the rest of these top 100 rankings. Lots of interesting stuff. So much work went into this. Go see where you are ranked. Go see where your friends are ranked, where your kids are ranked, where your student athletes are ranked, whoever's
neighbors.
listening. And come talk to us about it. Let us know what you think. Who should have been on there? Who should have been higher, lower?
Yeah.
Tell us what you think.
If your player is not ranked, send us an email, and I will check them out. Let us know.
Absolutely.
This is a living document, as they like to say.
Our
we will be posting we will be posting end of year a top 100 at the end of the year as well. So
awesome.
We're not done.
Very cool.
Sadly, the amount of work
you love it. You love it.
I do love it. I'd rather do that than breaking rocks for a living. That's for sure.
There you go. And so here, moving on to third period. I spent my Saturday after staying up until 3 a.m. banging out this
Wait,
Agora Fillmore.
let me give you some preamble. This is how hardworking Dom is, where he has to write a story after the game on Friday night so he can get up and like go to Lake Casitas and cover cross, and phenomenal, dude. That's the life, and you're living it.
It felt like a Saturday morning at Occidental College, where I ran track, where Saturday morning was when you had to go race, so you had to sleep in on Friday night, but I did not sleep in on Friday. It's good to sleep early, that is. But it was worth it. The runners made it worth it out there on the courses, starting with Ayla Curtis, who, I was going into this thinking, I wrote a story about Clovis Invitational the week before that led with Alo, and I was like, I got to find something else to write. I couldn't do it. She made it. She had the run of the day. She runs 16:53.9, which was the third fastest time ever run on this Lake Casitas course, which has hosted the Ventura County Championships for decades. She eclipses Sadie Engelhart and Jordan Hasse, who the runners who are watching will know, has been a phenomenal American marathoner. Their times on that course, and moves to number 3 from number 10, which is where she was from, I think, her freshman year or junior year. And she just ran away with it from the gun. You could see from the start line, she shot out ahead. She wasn't looking around to see if anyone was going with her. She was on a mission to get ahead of her old teammate Sadie's time. She said that was a big motivator for her.
That's cool.
Yeah, and she gets under it by a few seconds. A super big run for her. And sort of the story of the meet was that on the boys' side, Ventura goes ahead and wins the individual title there. Those guys take it really seriously, take the Ventura County Championships really seriously. It was a meet where a lot of top runners didn't race because Mount Sac, a big invitational, is this coming weekend. Postseason's coming up. But Ventura took it seriously, perhaps because Coach Josh Spiker has the third fastest time on this course, is up on that leaderboard. His kids want to continue that tradition of, Ventura running fast there. He wins Noah Sloan wins in 15:14, holding off hard charges from Foothill Tech's Vigo Bortolan and Thousand Oaks Orrin Hill. Speaking of Vigo and Foothill Tech, those guys also, make a little bit of history. They run away with the team title. Their first time racing there since 2017. Like I said, it's kind of, the county championships are about, throwing down the gauntlet and bragging rights and that kind of thing. And so because it doesn't have postseason ramifications for qualifying, some teams don't run. And Foothill Tech, credit to them, they come back to this meet after many years away, and their spread was 33 seconds. They averaged 15:36 on this very challenging course. They finished 2nd, 4th, 6th, 9th, and 10th. And so they completely blow out the rest of the competition. Nobody's close, and they run the second fastest team time on this course in history. So just an exciting day. Westlake, sadly, the Westlake girls are missing Anais Cruz to an injury, so she doesn't run. Her sister Sabina is, tracking Alo in that girls race, but she's kind of running on her own behind Alo, and then Oak Park freshman Kathleen Lamb's running alone behind Sabina. And it was cool seeing at the finish line, Alo finishes, catches her breath, turns around, and gives some hugs to the freshman who, she herself was a talented freshman when she came into high school, and she gave a cool quote talking about how awesome it is to see, that growth in the sport. So overall, a very fun meet. Go check out the photos, go check out the story for more info. But exciting Ventura County Championships. Already can't wait for next year.
Oh, and you're shooting photos too. Don't forget that, everyone. Good job.
Thanks, sir.
And then we have to mention that we are now entering playoff time for the fall. I wrote my flag football pairing story on Friday. I believe John took care of the volleyball pairings. So
Thank you, John.
You were at Lake Casitas, so the volleyball pairings came out on Saturday, and we got that up. I will be covering flag football tonight. This is Tuesday. I'm not everybody. So by the time everybody listens to this off the pod, these games will have already taken place. But we've got 10 teams in the first round of the playoffs across 4 different divisions. I thought it was really interesting that we had 2 teams in Division 1 and four teams in Division Two, but no teams in Divisions 5 or 6, which seemed
Interesting.
kind of unbalanced. I think it shows you that on the whole, I guess the flag, Orange County is a big deal. It's been there longer, and it just shows you that maybe Ventura County might be the second strongest county in
Yeah.
Southern California in this sport.
Interesting.
We'll have kind of some bellwether games. Newbury Park's hosting Tesoro, which is an Orange County team. Ventura's hosting Fullerton, which is an Orange County team. Agoura's hosting Corona Del Mar, which is an Orange County team. And Westlake is visiting Mater Dei, which is an Orange County team. So you'll have like a little bit of a, was it, you had the ACC, SEC, Big Ten Challenge, all that stuff in basketball where they play each other. And, we'll get to see a little bit of, who's better at that sport. I remember covering Newbury Park beating Yorba Linda in the first round of the playoffs last year, which was an early kind of sign that we could compete with Orange County teams. But if Ventura survives, I think they get the Huntington, or maybe I'm thinking of Division One. But at Division One, we have a huge game on Sunday. So if you're on Wednesday. If you're listening to this on Wednesday before 7 o'clock at night, get out to Camarillo High. Oxnard's going to host Camarillo. Camarillo is 24-4, 24-2 this year. They're one of the top 15 teams in the country, according to multiple national polls. So
Is that game's at Camarillo or at
that game's
Oxnard?
at Camarillo High. Oxnard's playing them. So you've got
Gotcha.
the third place team. The Channel League had two teams also in the top 20 in the country. The two Santa Barbara schools, San Marcos and is it DP? San Marcos and DP that finished co-champions of the Channel League.
Mm-hmm.
And Ventura has been right up there too. And so I'll say this, as somebody, obviously we cover a lot of tackle football. We see back in the day covered a lot of 7-on when we had time in the spring. Flag football is phenomenal. It's a fun time.
It's so fun.
I mean, you covered what was you covered the last year they had a Channel League postseason tournament, and you covered the championship game for us.
I covered
it was Oxnard and Ventura. Oxnard Ventura.
No, it was San Marcos was in that game. It was I think
Okay.
it was Oxnard was playing San Marcos. Ventura was still there. It was a very cool scene at the end.
They showed up.
Ventura
Yeah.
shows up and celebrates with Oxnard after the game. And then I saw Ventura play in the playoffs. And yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
If you ever think that people aren't taking it as serious as tackle football, listen to the parents in the stands. That's all I'll say about that.
I mean, it's really fun and explosive, and the rules are a little bit different this year, which has made it more like what the college game is going to be. So and it's not flag football. It's going to be in the Olympics. It's going to be a major college sport within a couple of years. Ventura College and Oxnard College are launching flag football teams. I can't imagine Moore Park College is very far from that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing is here and it's happening, and it's a darn good time. So I have 3 different games I want to. Oh, and I didn't even mention. So Channel Islands and Santa Paula. It's the weirdest thing doing this for 25 years. Almost never something like this almost never happens. I don't quite know how this happened. But Channel Islands and Santa Paula finished tied for the Citrus Coast League Championship. They went 9-1 each, and they split the games against each other. But with this new system, they are playing each other in the first round of the playoffs. So you get this rubber match. The two coaches were trying to schedule a rubber match anyway, just for fun. Now it's going to actually happen in the playoffs. They seem to be happy about it. I would not be happy about it because like the whole point of the playoffs is for that league needs to show how good they are. Both of those teams should be able to try to win a playoff game and not have to play each other. So, I do not like two teams from the same league playing in the first round of any playoff, but that's what we've got. And it's going to be a fun moment over there. That is at Jones Field tonight out at Santa Paula, and Royals at Heart. So anyway, we got 10 teams. Hopefully one of them makes a nice run to keep me busy over the next couple of weeks.
And real quick, I'll just go through the volleyball pairings. Thanks again to John for writing this up. But 17 local teams playing. It's been very fun this season, kind of diving deep into volleyball and such a talented sport here. We were talking about how flag has kind of blown up. I think volleyball's been here a long time, and some of these powerhouses are, they are powerhouses. And it's always a question competing with. Oh, I may be a little muffled. Can you hear me? Okay.
That's better. I think
Okay.
maybe the screen is touching the mic, or I don't know if it's supposed to. Is that what's doing it? Something's doing
I'll
it.
talk a little louder.
You're a little underwater there for a little bit. It was fine. I didn't stop you because it was fine. But
Gotcha.
better than our issue last week.
Don't do that. Don't say that, bro. Now I'm checking my mic again. So 17 local girls volleyball teams are playing. Marmani League co-champion Oaks Christian, which finished 25-4, is the only team in Division One this year. They're on the road at Temecula Valley. They split that Marmani League title with Thousand Oaks, who's down in Division Two. They finished 29-4. They're the third seed in Division Two, so I'm sure the Lancers are happy about that, getting to dip down into D2, which I think was where they were last year as well, and have some home games. They're hosting Sage Hill. They're the only local team in Division Two. In D3, you have Newbury Park, which finished 22-11. They were third in the Marmani League. Kind of a fun thing they did there. Westlake and Agora and Newbury Park met in TO to determine who was going to be the third automatic qualifier, because they were all tied. So Agora and Westlake played. Agora wins in that first round. They go immediately back and play Newbury Park in the same gym. Probably some tired legs there. Newbury Park was victorious. So they're playing at Flint Ridge Prep. Newbury Park is, and Agora, who got an at-large selection, despite losing out in that kind of little round robin, they will play at North Torrance in first round games Wednesday. D4, which is the division that Newbury Park last year made the deepest run of any local team. Coastal Canyon League champion Oak Park hosts Sultana on Tuesday. Ventura is who finished second in the Channel League, is going to be at home against Rancho Cucamonga tonight. I'm going to be there covering that, taking photos. In D5, Camarillo was second in the Coastal Canyon League, is hosting San Marino on Wednesday. Tri-Valley League champion St. Bonaventure, who was 18-4, a very talented team, is going to travel to Valencia. And Royal, which was third in the Coastal Canyon League, is hosting University Pacific Hills. D6, Oxnard is playing at Wiseburn Da Vinci on Tuesday. Division 8, Foothill Tech, which was second in the Frontier League, is the top seed in Division 8 and is hosting University Prep Cross Valley on Tuesday night. D9, Besant Hill, which was 11-3, finished second in the Omega League. They're the top seed in Division 9, so two top-seeded, lower division teams from the area. They're hosting Cathedral City Sun Valley on Wednesday. And then Coastal Canyon League champion Nordhoff is the third seed in D9, is hosting Cobalt, and Santa Paula, which is third in the CCL, is traveling to Estancia. And then D10, Newbury Park Adventist is hosting Edgewood on Tuesday. Thatcher is hosting Lucerne Valley, and Wainimi is hosting New Covenant. So a lot of games. That's a mouthful, but 17 local teams. Testament to how good that sport is around here.
Yeah, phenomenal. Good luck to all of them. Seems like a lot of teams get some tough road games, and don't forget, you win that game, get a home game in the second round, and
off
you
to
can
the races.
Break through. Yeah. And then we also have week 9 of the football season.
It's 2 to go. Yeah.
We're getting there a little bit. We'll have this is kind of the last big Friday night of the football season, because you got the split week next week, where half the games will be on Thursday and half the games will be on Friday.
Right.
So it's probably our biggest Friday night left of the season, considering after that you'll have, everyone will be playing on Friday night in the playoffs, and, we'll have 3 times, but, probably have about 15 teams in the playoffs. So the key is that all the undefeated first place teams, that's Pacifica, Westlake, Ventura, Agura, Grace, can all clinch shares of championships this weekend. Although looking at it, I don't think maybe one can clinch outright with some help. So most of those races will technically go down to the last week of the regular season. We already talked a little bit about that key Marmani League game with Bishop Diego and St. Bonaventure going at it. The winner gets to keep pace with Pacifica there atop the Marmani League. Really interesting. Speaking of Pacifica, remember last year Simi was in first place trying to win the Marmani League. running away with it, and Pacifica handed them their first loss.
Mm-hmm.
This is Simi's chance to do the same to Pacifica this week. So if Simi can somehow get healthy enough to make a push in that game, you might have an interesting kind of shoe on the other foot sort of situation.
That's funny because it totally is identical. I remember covering that game. Simi was going in like, you know, the by far the favorite. Everybody thought they were going to win that game, you know, by a wide margin, and it was kind of a little bit of a surprise from Pacifica. So if that happens, it'll be the same storyline going in.
It'd be prescient. Canal Valley Championship game, Newbury Park and TO. They're both a game back of fellow district rival Westlake, so that's a big game for them. One of those teams gets to keep pace with Westlake. Obviously a huge rivalry game. It's also the first game since Thousand Oaks graduate and former Newbury Park offensive coordinator Brandon Anderson is the head coach at TO, so in this game for the first time. So that's kind of unique. We've talked about Oak Park's title shot with Ventura this week. There's also kind of the same with Channel Islands against Grace. If Channel Islands somehow pulls off the upset against Grace, that will throw that league kind of into mayhem.
Yeah.
And then let's just be honest, my favorite game this weekend, Del Sol and Santa Clara, two 0-8 teams plugging along. As somebody who was on an 0-8 team or an 0-7 team that got to play a game against a team that was also winless, it's just everything you put into that season, you're trying to win that game, trying to get over the hump. And, I feel for Del Sol and Santa Clara this week where, this is a huge opportunity for both of those teams to get a W. And the good news is, barring a tie, at least one of them will be celebrating on Saturday morning.
Absolutely. Well done. Thanks for taking us through that. And that's it. I think we're done. Got anything to plug? I think I don't have anything to add. It was a great talk through. I can say, I don't know if Joe knows where he's going to be, but I'm going to be covering that Ventura Oak Park game, which should be exciting.
Joe is indecisive this week.
Joe does not
this
know
week.
Just kidding.
Yeah, Joe can't decide between Simi Valley Pacifica and Newark Park TO. So I will be at one of those games. I don't know, Bishop Diego St. Bonaventure big game too. This is one of those weeks where you wish you'd had three of you. And but I'm
trying to think in my head how many times you've said I wish there were 4 or 5, 6 of us. Yeah, it's true every week. But yes, we will bring all the coverage.
Yeah.
From all of these games.
Santa Paula Fillmore story, read it on vcstar.com. My rankings are up. We've got the vote in the poll. I will have coverage of flag football playoffs. I'm sure you and John will have coverage of volleyball playoffs. I think that's enough for 1 week, right?
Playoff time. And then all those evergreen stories, go back to those top 100, share them.
Yes.
Have some fun with that. But yeah. All right, guys.
Seriously, don't shy away from the critical email. Honestly, we love them.
Gluttons for punishment.
That's right. We can take it. Awesome.
All right,
Have
guys.
a good week, guys.
Till next time.
It comes down to this for Thousand Oaks in their season. It is a gift to Martin. Martin gets the first down and more. It's a nice little screen to the left-hand side. One play, and see ya later. Caldera dives into the end zone. Touchdown, Oxnard. What a fitting way to end that run. He's at the 40. He's at the 20. 10, 5, touchdown.